The Legend of Cú Chulainn, Ireland's mythic hero. In the mists of ancient Ireland, where the land itself seems to remember the footsteps of gods and heroes, there is a name that echoes across the centuries, a name that stirs the soul and conjures visions of valor, tragedy, and the eternal struggle of the human spirit. That name is Cú Chulainn. His story is not merely a tale of battles and glory, but a tapestry woven from prophecy, sacrifice, love, and loss. It is a story that has shaped the identity of a people and continues to inspire those who seek meaning in the interplay between fate and free will. Today we journey through the life and legend of Cú Chulainn. We will explore the roots of his myth, the trials that forged his character, the triumphs and heartbreaks that defined his destiny, and the enduring legacy he leaves for us all. This is not just the story of a hero. It is a meditation on what it means to be human. The story of Cú Chulainn. Chapter 1. Prophecy, Origins, and the First Weapons. Cú Chulainn was born Setanta, a child of prophecy, the son of Daichtine, and, according to legend, the god Lugh. From the very beginning, his life was marked by omens and portents. The Druids whispered of his coming, foreseeing a life of brief brilliance and everlasting fame. Even as a child, Setanta was restless, driven by an inner fire that set him apart from his peers. He grew up in the court of Conchobar MacNessa, king of Ulster, surrounded by warriors and poets, learning not only the arts of war, but also the values of loyalty, honor, and sacrifice. The moment that would define his identity came unexpectedly. On his way to a feast at the house of the smith Cúlainn, Setanta was attacked by the smith's fearsome guard dog. With nothing but his bare hands, the boy slew the beast. When Cúlainn mourned his lost protector, Setanta, moved by a sense of responsibility, offered to take the dog's place until a replacement could be found. From that day forward, he was known as Cú Chulainn, the Hound of Cúlainn. But a name is only the beginning. His fate was sealed by a prophecy. One day he overheard the druid Cathbad declare that any young man who took up arms that day would achieve everlasting fame, but would not live long. Without hesitation, Setanta demanded arms from King Conchobar. His choice was not made out of ignorance, but with clear-eyed acceptance of his destiny. He embraced the path of glory, knowing it would be short and fraught with peril. This was the first act of a life defined by courage in the face of fate, a theme that would recur again and again in his story. As he grew, Setanta's prowess became legendary. Yet, even in his earliest victories, the seeds of tragedy were sown. The weight of prophecy pressed upon his shoulders, and the loneliness of being set apart from others began to haunt him. He was admired, but also feared loved, but never truly understood. Chapter 2. The Shadow of Scathach Training and Transformation. No hero is born complete. Cú Chulainn's journey led him across the sea to Alba, seeking instruction from Scathach, the legendary warrior woman whose fortress was shrouded in mist and legend. Her training ground was a place of shadows and secrets, where only the worthy survived. Under her guidance, he learned the arts of war, mastering every weapon, every tactic, every nuance of combat. Scathach's lessons were not limited to the body. She taught him about the burdens of power, the weight of responsibility, and the loneliness that comes with greatness. Each day was a test, not just of skill, but of character. Cú Chulainn's mind was sharpened alongside his blade, and he began to understand that true strength lay not only in victory, but in the wisdom to know when to show mercy. In her company, Cú Chulainn also encountered love and rivalry. He won the affection of Wathach, Scathach's daughter, and faced the enmity of Aife, her greatest rival. In a fateful duel, Cú Chulainn defeated Aife, sparing her life on the condition that she bear him a son. This act of mercy would one day return to haunt him, for the child born of their union would become both a symbol of love and a harbinger of tragedy. The training with Scathach was a crucible. Cú Chulainn emerged from it, changed not just in body, but in soul. He had glimpsed the cost of greatness, and the shadow of that knowledge would follow him for the rest of his days. Chapter 3. The Rheastrad, the warp spasm of battle. Cú Chulainn was not merely a skilled warrior. He was a force of nature. In battle, he experienced the Rheastrad, or warp spasm, a supernatural transformation that turned him into an unstoppable, monstrous figure. His body would contort, his features would twist, and his enemies would flee in terror. This frenzy was both a gift and a curse, for it separated him from his companions and marked him as something other than human. The Rheastrad was a manifestation of the inner turmoil that defined Cú Chulainn's life. It was the outward sign of the conflict between his mortal limitations and his divine heritage, between the demands of duty and the longing for peace. Each time the frenzy overtook him, he felt himself slipping further from the world of ordinary men, becoming something wild and untamed. After each battle, when the bloodlust faded and the silence returned, Cú Chulainn was left alone with his thoughts. The faces of those he had slain haunted his dreams, and he wondered if the price of victory was too high. Yet he could not turn away from his path. The fate of Ulster depended on him, and he bore that burden with grim resolve. Chapter 4. The Táin Bó Cúailnge, the cattle raid of Cooley. The central episode of Cú Chulainn's legend is the Táin Bó Cúailnge, the cattle raid of Cooley. Queen Medb of Connaught, driven by pride and ambition, sought to steal the great brown bull of Cooley from Ulster. As fate would have it, the warriors of Ulster were struck down by a curse, leaving only Cú Chulainn to stand against the invading armies. Alone, he held the fords and passes, challenging Medb's champions to single combat. Day after day, he faced the mightiest warriors of Ireland, defeating them one by one. His stand was not merely a feat of strength, but a testament to his unyielding spirit. He fought not for personal gain, but to protect his people, to honor his oaths, and to fulfill his destiny. The battles were relentless. Each duel was a test of skill, endurance, and will. Cú Chulainn's body bore the scars of his struggle, but his spirit remained unbroken. He faced not only human foes, but the supernatural as well. The Morrigan, goddess of war, appeared to him in many guises, testing his resolve and reminding him that no mortal can escape the designs of fate. Among the many duels, the most poignant was his battle against Ferdiad, his foster brother and closest friend. Bound by loyalty to their respective sides, they fought for 3 days, each unwilling to yield. The river between them ran red with blood, and the cries of their struggle echoed across the land. In the end, Cú Chulainn was forced to use the deadly Gaebolg, the spear given to him by Scathach, to slay Ferdiad. The victory was hollow, for it left him bereft of friendship and weighed down by sorrow. The aftermath of the Táin was devastation. Ulster was saved, but at a terrible cost. Cú Chulainn's fame spread, but so did his grief. The faces of the fallen haunted him, and the cheers of victory could not drown out the silence of loss. Chapter 5. Encounters with the Supernatural. Throughout his life, Cú Chulainn was shadowed by the supernatural. The Morrigan, the goddess of war and fate, appeared to him in many guises, sometimes as a beautiful woman, sometimes as a crow, always as a harbinger of doom. She offered him love, but he rejected her, earning her enmity. In battle, she would return to test him, to wound him, to remind him that no mortal, however mighty, can escape the designs of fate. Other encounters with the otherworldly included visits from gods, spirits, and mysterious figures who offered guidance or posed riddles. Each encounter deepened his sense of isolation and heightened his awareness of the forces that shaped his life. In the quiet moments between battles, Cú Chulainn would reflect on these encounters, searching for meaning in the chaos that surrounded him. He was both blessed and cursed by his connection to the divine. The gods had given him strength, but they had also marked him for suffering. He walked a path between worlds, never fully belonging to either. Chapter 6. Love, Family, and Tragedy. Despite his prowess in battle, Cú Chulainn's life was marked by heartbreak. He loved Emer, a woman of wit and strength who matched him in spirit and resolve. Their union was a source of joy but also of pain, for Cú Chulainn's destiny would not allow him the peace of a settled life. Emer understood the burdens he bore, and her love was both a comfort and a reminder of what he could never truly possess. The greatest tragedy came with the arrival of Connla, his son by Aife. Unrecognized, Connla arrived in Ulster seeking his father. Bound by a Gaisa magical obligation, Connla could not reveal his identity. Cú Chulainn, seeing only a formidable challenger, fought and killed Connla. Only after the fatal blow did he recognize the ring he had given Aife and realized the truth. The grief was overwhelming, a wound deeper than any he had suffered in battle. This loss broke something within Cú Chulainn. The pain of having destroyed his own flesh and blood, the symbol of his love and mercy, haunted him. He questioned the path he had chosen, wondering if the glory of legend was worth the agony of such a price. Chapter 7. The Gaisa and the Hero's Death. The end of Cú Chulainn's life was shaped by Gaisa taboos or sacred obligations that bound him. One such giais forbade him to eat dog meat, while another required him to accept any food offered by a woman. His enemies, knowing this, exploited the contradiction. When offered dog meat by a hag, he was forced to violate one geese or the other. He chose to accept the food, and from that moment, his strength began to wane. In his final battle, Cú Chulainn faced overwhelming odds. The armies of his enemies closed in, and his former allies were powerless to help. Mortally wounded, he refused to die lying down. He bound himself to a standing stone, determined to meet death on his feet. Even as his enemies approached, they dared not come near until a raven the Morrigan landed on his shoulder, signaling that the hero had finally fallen. His death was not a defeat, but a culmination of all that he had lived for: courage, honor, and the acceptance of fate. In his final moments, Cú Chulainn faced his mortality with the same resolve that had defined his life. He became, in death, the very embodiment of the ideals he had lived for: unyielding, steadfast, and true. The importance of Cú Chulainn today. The legend of Cú Chulainn is more than an ancient tale. It is a mirror in which we see the struggles of our own lives reflected, the tension between duty and desire, the cost of greatness, the pain of loss, and the hope that our actions might outlast our brief time on earth. Cú Chulainn has become a symbol of Irish identity, resilience, and the fight for freedom. His image has been invoked by poets, artists, and revolutionaries. Yet, beyond the politics and the myth, his story speaks to something deeper: the universal longing to find meaning in suffering, to act with courage in the face of the unknown, and to leave behind a legacy that endures. In a world that often feels uncertain and divided, the story of Cú Chulainn reminds us that true heroism is not the absence of fear or pain, but the willingness to confront them with integrity and resolve. It teaches us that greatness is not measured by victory alone, but by the depth of our compassion, the strength of our commitments, and the grace with which we accept our fate. If this journey through the life and legend of Cú Chulainn has moved you, if you have found in his story something that resonates with your own experience, we invite you to join us on this path of discovery. Like, share, and subscribe to Eternal Philosophies for more explorations of myth, meaning, and the mysteries that bind us all. Let us know in the comments which hero, philosopher, or story you would like to see next. Until then, remember, the legends of the past are not relics. They are guides, companions, and sources of strength for the journey ahead. Thank you for watching.